you know, it's just tragic to have a life like this with all its advantages in so many ways, and let the opportunity slip by us to really do something important with our lives, like be happy, which is an important goal. So I thought I'd say a few words about that, because you know, sometimes people think that that's a trivial goal somehow, to be happy. And if it's so trivial, well, it should be a lot easier to do then, I guess. If it's so trivial, then how come it's so hard to be happy? And first of all, it's not trivial. It's a very, very serious goal. You will not be of use to others if you're constantly needy, if you're constantly unhappy. You're not of use to others. You're what I call a helpee instead of a helper. So the condition of possibility for being of use to others, of being part of the solution instead of part of the problem, is to fix yourself first and get happy. And so, you know, that happiness is not selfish. Happiness is the condition of possibility of selflessness. Because when you fix yourself, then you're okay. And you don't have to think about yourself anymore, you see. When you're happy, you're okay. You see? People say, how are you? I'm happy, I'm fine. How are you? What can I do for you? Because I'm okay, you see. So you gotta get yourself okay as soon as possible so that you can be of use to others, which is the point of life, actually. The purpose of life is to get yourself fixed as quickly as possible so you can help others. You know, in case you were wondering what the point of your life was, like, is it to just make money and consume and go to a dead-end job and, you know, get old and die? That's not the point of your life. That's a waste of life. That's a waste of this kind of life. That's a life that's filled with regret, and will be. You know, at the end, you'll be filled with regret, going like, wow, you know, that was it. That's it. It's like, you know, wasn't there? Shouldn't there have been more? And you know, yeah, there should have been more. If you live your life like that, there should have been more. And I just told you what that more was. You should take the opportunity, a rare opportunity that we have, you know, living the kind of lives that we are, to worry about something other than just making a living. You know, how many people go through all their lives, you know, on this planet, you know, just worrying about like, how am I going to eat tomorrow? You see, but we're not like that. We don't have a life like that. How many people go through their whole lives, never know how to read? They get a handout like this and it just looks like, you know, gibberish. It's just like scratches to them. You know, you're not like that. You're educated. You're better educated than almost all of humanity has ever been. You see, up until recently, you know, the kind of education that we take for granted, you know, has just been reserved for the very, very tiny elite. You know, so be grateful. Be grateful for the kind of life that you have, and then think, well, you know, do I have any obligation? In the old days, you know, in Europe, in pre-modern Europe, the people who were living lives like ours, you know, there weren't really any people living lives like ours, but the people who had approximate versions of life like ours, you know, who were very, very well off, relatively speaking, or who were very, very educated, relatively speaking. They had this phrase, the French phrase, maybe you've heard of it, Noblesse oblige. Noblesse oblige, the obligation of the noble people, of the nobility, the obligation of the nobility. And we're the nobility, we're the modern nobility. We are the modern nobility. We're living in the empire, we're living in the center of the empire, we are the empire. We are the world's empire, we're living in the center of it, and we are the world's nobility. And we have an obligation. And the obligation isn't just to exploit everyone else. You see, that's kind of like how we've been behaving mostly, you know, thinking that, you know, well, we're the empire and we'll just, like, you know, take all the world's goods, you know, all the world's energy, all the world's resources, and just use them up. And that's not what this kind of life was made for. That's neither noble nor your obligation to use up everyone else's resources, or to just like think that the purpose of your life is to entertain yourself, you know, with 500 channels on the cable, and then go to some dead-end job and get old and die. That's not the point. The point of your life is to use the opportunity that we have. So also, here's another thing. the point of having a life like this also isn't just to feel guilty about it. You know, sometimes people like, you know, liberals or something like that, they get the idea that, oh, you know, yeah, you know, we're living this like high on the hog life, and people are starving in, you know, in sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, we should feel so bad, and that's not useful. Feeling bad isn't going to help the people in sub-Saharan Africa, and you feeling guilty about your prosperity and about your opportunity isn't anything other than just another way to be selfish and worry about you some more, you know, because who are you thinking about when you're feeling guilty, by the way? So don't feel guilty. Feel obliged. Feel obliged. I have an obligation. I have an unbelievable opportunity, and that opportunity is one that I should take advantage of, that I must take advantage of, out of Noblesse, Oblige. And what that really means is that you get serious about your life. You see, you get serious about your spiritual life, and you think, well, you know, I have an obligation to try to maximize the opportunity that I have to achieve the highest goals of the spiritual life, which is, you know, which is rare. It's rare to have an opportunity like this. Very, very rare. And then think about it in terms of, you know, how you really are going to help others. How are you really going to help the people in sub-Saharan Africa? You see, you know, it's one thing to, you know, send them checks, or, you know, maybe even go and volunteer at the Peace Corps. That's fine. That's good. That's better than not caring at all. That's, you know, right? But the way to really help others is to teach them how to help themselves. Just the way to really help others is to teach them how to live good lives. And if you don't know how to live a good life, how are you going to teach anybody else how to live a good life? You see? If you haven't figured out how to live a good life in all senses, right? Good in the sense of cause, and good in the sense of result. Good in the sense of result is, you know, a happy life, a prosperous life, a comfortable life, a life of, you know, where you're not suffering all the time. And good in the sense of cause is selfless. Selfless. So the cause of having a good life is leading a good life, you see. The cause of having a good life is leading a good life. But if we're not leading good lives, and if we're just like sucking out the goodness of our good lives in the other sense, right, in our prosperous life, then we don't have anything really to give to anybody else. All we are doing is taking from other people, you see. We're not recreating the causes that brought us the good life in the first place. We only got a good life in the second sense, prosperous, nice, comfortable life, because we led a good life in the sense of ethical. Everything's caused. Didn't just random into this life, you see. This kind of life, it was caused. So how many of us are recreating the causes for a good life in the future? And how many of us are really serious about leading a good life, and in order to have a good life, and in order to teach other people how to have a good life? And that's our job. That's our Noblesse Oblige. That's why we have the opportunity.